Welcome to Island Tea with your faves Kevon and Amali and with Azim on the ones and 96s. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on Win Media 98.9.
Good morning, and how are you this morning? Good morning. Let me remember the rest. But we are here, have no fear. It is a wonderful Thursday. Good morning to everyone. Nice and cool. It's nice and cool. I woke up in heaven today.
By a little drizzle this morning.
A drizzle. No sun. There's a nice cool atmosphere. Oh, heaven.
Like England in the summer.
That's sad, but I woke up at 7 and then I realized what the weather was like and I rolled back over and then I woke up at 7:45.
Oh, wow.
So I'm here, unbathed.
I think you could have leave out that detail.
No. I thought this was a safe space.
You like to be-
No. I fully support you, bro.
Okay.
Oh, you like to be transparent with your listeners.
No, but you said it was a safe space?
No,
But now you're saying it's not?
No, it is a safe space, but remember, we have listening ears in the safe space, so I'm just
But
saying.
it's a safe space for all of them as well.
Because, our Win FM with listeners, they like to, they just hold on to things, eh?
Right,
You're going to be walking in in like Valley Mata Rams, and you hear, Amali say, he ain't paid this morning.
We already getting a call.
Are you really? Are we really? Sir, come on.
We know it's so.
I will noise you. Let's take the call.
Good morning.
Oh, it's not.
Stop your forwardness about this little drizzle. We get in showers in Kevon, heavy showers.
Heavy in Kevon?
Keep your drizzle in town.
Keep your drizzle in
Where the
town.
rain is not needed. It's pure concrete inside there. So getting it where we want it in the ground.
That's good. That's good.
Let's keep the country green and
Heavy showers.
good. All right, thank you, caller. We thought it was we friend. Probably he gonna be when he called.
Student one or student two.
But how was everybody's day off yesterday? What was done by the masses?
As in probably had many church things to do.
Yes, of course.
And I saw Jade over.
Naturally.
And I saw Jade over West Spice Mill looking boys.
Jade was enjoying.
That's what she was doing?
Jade was enjoying the day off on the beach.
Yeah. And she 2 piece to him.
So you're gonna tell them that you dragged me out of my house very early in the morning for a meeting that lasted till 3:00 on my day off?
11 is early in the morning.
Oh, okay.
And everybody else come in regular clothes and Jade come in, she hold. She
Amali.
2 piece and she throw over, she make up and
Amali.
everything.
Amali, we can settle this right now. Did Jade by chance have on one of those garments, those articles of clothing that even though it's on you can see straight through it?
Yeah,
Yes.
this season thing.
Tropics
What are they
I was
called?
prepared for the heat.
What they
It was
call?
extremely hot yesterday. It's
see-through?
called a thrower.
Oh.
But it was
She was dressed very
I have seen
tropic-esque.
thrown overs that people can't see through.
well, it was very hot yesterday, so
Oh, so
I done fed up with all of y'all and they did just that.
oh boy,
Boys looking.
boys looking.
But you know what?
Everybody said, Jade, what you look nice but what's the occasion? Jade said, I mean, meet someone.
I mean,
I have to be prepared.
that's what I said about it.
Yes, that's what I recall.
Okay.
I could be wrong, please.
Oh,
Correct me if I'm
boy.
wrong, but that's what I recall.
here comes the
Quite,
slander.
quite vividly.
What you got into, Kevon?
It was a friend's birthday, so we just did some like lunch. We just did lunch, and that was about it. Just chilled out for the rest of it.
Yesterday was ridiculously hot,
It was
Yo,
really hot.
I had to check the weather. It said feels like 106.
I sat
Wow.
there at lunch with the nice breeze blowing and sweating.
As less of clothes that I had on yesterday.
It was hot.
I was still
Also, you agree that you were
I even had my button down.
Scantily clad.
I
you
even
were
had my
scantily clad.
dressed for the weather and it did not help.
I even had my button up, like a few buttons out,
Yeah.
and I was still hot.
Yeah, chest out.
Well,
Like
me-
Mark Anthony? I understand.
I mean, I would have just so bad. I might have to swap some letters, but I guess. But let's talk our lovely Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Which episode is this?
This is episode +1.
Okay.
Um,
The Looney Tunes?
No, not yet. We ain't reached there yet.
Okay.
We ain't reached there yet. Let's start off good, and then we have to jump to the Looney Tunes. So 15 citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis are being recognized for their sterling contribution to nation building. In keeping with the National Honors Act of St. Kitts and Nevis, 15 citizens were recognized for their sterling contribution to nation building during a ceremony that was held at the National Heroes Park in observance with the National Heroes Day on Wednesday, September 16th, which was yesterday. The National Honors Act established a trio of merit-based awards, which includes the Medal of Honor, the Companion of the Star of Merit, and the Order of National Hero. This year's recipients of the Companion of the Star of Merit include Dr. Bernal Nisbet in medicine, Viola Jacobs and Shirley Brown for education, Archdeacon Rudolph Smithen for religious services, and Dr. Hazel Laws, Dr. Cameron Wilkinson, and Abdia Samuel for national service in a crisis. The Medal of Honor went to Nurse Mary and Charles McMaster in community service. Oh no, I read that wrong. Mary Nurse. I'm guessing her last name is Nurse?
Yeah, that's very possible.
Mary Nurse. Oops. And Charles McMaster in
So
community
that
service.
Nurse Mary
No,
is
Mary Nurse.
Mary Nurse.
I'm guessing her last name is Nurse.
Yes.
In
Kevon,
community service.
Did the nurse come after her first name?
I like to spice up how I read these things.
Kevon, see, Mary Nurse and said Nurse Mary.
Yeah, because you know, people refer to nurses by the nurse first and then the first name. So, whoops.
Oh boy.
Pearline Mussenden in education.
So that mustn't in Berlin.
This one is just Pearline Mussenden. Joseph Benders for arts. Dr. Linton Liebert in medicine. Pamela Brooks in nursing.
Oh, I love Nurse Brooks.
Oh,
She's so nice.
Nurse Brooks
In
in nursing.
the nurse books, I know.
And Brian Dyer and Judy Nisbet, Dr. Judy Nisbet in the area of national service in a crisis.
Pick up Uncle Brian.
Woot woot. I want to acknowledge each of them for whose merits. There's a typo in the article.
Wow.
I want to acknowledge each of them whose work has led them to being recognized for the following awards in accordance with the National Honors
You cannot
Act.
be wrong like Jade. You
Dr.
gotta leave on the one in front.
Hello?
said Dr.
That one behind leaving a very but that one.
Why they disturbing me while I'm
Excuse
reading?
me, we hearing you.
Right? Why they disturbing me while I'm
But the
reading?
whole shot dark.
Arguing about lights.
And they didn't even care.
Right? They don't care. Y'all finished disturbing me?
Sorry.
It's okay. Forgiven, Father. But that's, the words of Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris as he delivered the commemorative address. He said, "We thank all these people for their outstanding contribution. Congrats to the recipients. Well deserved, I'm sure. It's I love to see citizens and nationals being honored with things like these.
And it would be remiss of me to have it come in here on multiple occasions and cuss how horrible some of these independence celebration activities have been and have looked. Yesterday it looked really nice actually.
I saw some.
The ceremony was
things,
really
and
nice.
It looked very nice. Very well
the
put
production
together.
it was you could tell there was a lot of care and attention that went into that, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it was a totally different committee.
Maybe they heard you.
Maybe yes.
I don't know, but it did look good, and so commendations to all those involved in putting that event together. It really was inspiring, to say the least.
So, kudos and congrats to everyone that received and were honored yesterday. And I'm sure those that weren't, you're not seen. You're not seen. We have a call on the line. Caller, good morning.
My future heroes.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm blushing.
Wait, Joyce, you said so? Look, status as Sylvina, and we say somewhere along the line I shall be a national hero.
Right?
They're looking for acts and all of that, you know.
We do a national hero. Okay.
So work on it, work on it.
I'll take it.
As the Prime Minister said, there's a hero inside all of us.
I'll take it.
Yeah, no, just a little correction. Mary Nurse, her name is Mary Nurse Clark.
Oh, the
No,
Clark
it's
on the
actually
end.
her surname, her maiden surname.
So maybe Nurse Clark.
Yes.
Okay.
And she is attached to the Association of Persons with Disability, and NEMA. She does a lot of work with people who are differently able, and her own young people and whatever. She's from St. Peter's, Monkhill area.
Okay.
Right, I don't even know her. But her name is Mary Nurse Clark.
Okay, then.
Your name Hanley? She's Mary Nurse, not Nurse Mary. So big up to all the recipients of the awards yesterday. And I hope before I take my vacation from this place, I put on my television and hear one of your names. So work on it.
We're working on it.
In God we
Right.
trust.
We promise you. But you
And
know.
next thing I'm asking before I go.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Brantley was advertising he's going to be on at 8. Isn't it 9 o'clock?
It's 9, yeah.
He said he's going to be on today.
Yeah, it's today.
Today.
He'll be on at 9 shortly.
The show begins
That's
at 8,
maybe
so,
you
so,
should
so,
inform me,
so,
because he
so-
kept telling people, tune in at 8 o'clock tomorrow, you'll hear me.
yeah, because he want you all to hear the whole show.
That's why so much
Oh,
extra
he was
people on the
saying you will
line.
hear me.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's a good way to get them to listen.
Well, it's
Welcome
working.
to all, welcome to all the new listeners. All right,
Welcome to all the new listeners. Oh yeah, that's true. Welcome to all the folks that are tuning in, in anticipation of the interview with the sheriff. Yes, we have some very interesting questions lined up for the premiere today, and I think it's going to be a very dynamic and insightful interview.
Big time.
We're getting up close and personal. We want to know what's going on inside that sheriff head of his. Yeah.
With his fashionable socks.
With his fashionable socks, and that's the first item on the agenda as well.
Oh,
I have questions.
I need to
want
know.
him to
Yeah.
put the camera down on his socks.
QTNA. But you know, we have to celebrate Independence Week in style. I should have put on my socks today.
Yeah, anything less to be uncivilized.
But anyway.
You have tomorrow to put on your socks, Kevon?
No, but it's for Brantley. I wanted to show him the socks. My sock game. You know, Brantley don't play with the socks.
The last time I do that, he embarrassed me in front of the company.
Yeah, it's true. Don't mean not do that because he embarrassed somebody on Twitter the other day.
And then I went back after him on Instagram. You know, in the morning he post a picture of him drinking the tea by the pool. And he landing. And he just had on regular black socks.
Ah,
I say a sock game is atrocious this morning. I'm disappointed. Live on the picture.
You go ahead. Upset
but
the man.
messy.
And he just sent about 10 laughing emojis.
I mean, we're lucky he took the interview.
That's probably revenge. He probably coming here to thump you up on the ear. He put the sock over here and hit you some top. But hey, we you know,
That's dark, boy.
entertainment for the masses. But let's talk. On this, what season we on?
In September, so that's
This
what,
would be
season 9?
This would be season.
This is season 12. No, not season 12. This is episode 12 of the season. Because remember, the season starts after Independence, right? The new season starts. So we in
So every week is a season?
every month is a season. No. Every year is a season, but episodes are months.
So we're on episode 9.
So we on episode Because remember, we're going by Independence.
So this is episode
This is
12.
This is the last episode of the.
I'm confused.
We know.
It's episode 12.
It's episode 12. And then the
Every
new-
month is an episode?
Yeah, but to start not a calendar month. Not a calendar month meaning January, February. Start in January. It starts after Independence.
So it started last year, September.
To be honest,
That's the
right?
When did we
beginning.
agree on this?
The other day.
To be honest, right? If I'm being totally honest, it kind of feels like yesterday was the season finale.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about
Just
the season finale.
Trust me, something was going to happen.
We
got
have
about 4 more months that we need.
No, we got like 3 more days before the new season starts, so it's a surprise. Let's talk about the season finale of Looney Tunes. You're saying it's Looney Tunes. So there was a robbery that occurred. 4 men are reportedly in police custody, and the hunt is reportedly on for another as investigation continues into the armed robbery of a couple at the Gulf View Apartments in Frigate Bay. We understand that the robbery occurred around 8:30 yesterday morning. Police have not issued a statement on the incident at this time, but we did see videos and images circulating of the vehicle parked on some grass, surrounded by what do I call them? The detainees? The suspects? Let's call them suspects. Yeah, the suspects. The suspects, on their bellies, hands behind their back, cuffed. And you see four people in the image, and they said, that another one is being looked into, trying to be found. But my guess as to how this happened is the neighbor saw what was happening, because we see video coming from a neighboring building.
That is quite possible if one chooses to commit such crimes in broad daylight
in a community
on a holiday.
So
quite possible that someone might see.
Let's set the tone for J2D2. You put some question marks. What's going on? I'll leave you some time to answer. But the neighboring building, we see video coming from the neighbor's window of the vehicle pulling up in the driveway, someone jumping out and running inside, and then the vehicle backs up to gear up to be the getaway, to prepare for the getaway, and then the person runs back in, jumps in and drives off. And I'm very confused as to why this occurred on a holiday at 8:30 a.m. when everyone's at home.
In a private vehicle with the license plate still attached? In a private vehicle
with the license plate attached.
No, we're not encouraging robbing.
Right. At all.
However.
No, the whole thing stupid. Don't rob nobody. Yeah. What about that? What about just don't rob nobody?
Don't rob anybody.
Yeah, because especially, imagine, right?
Sometimes you got to rob it.
J2D2 say I confuse him with the episode on season talk.
You confuse me too.
Yeah. we'll break it down another time. But yeah.
Because I don't know since when we started in September.
Independence.
That's the beginning.
This is season 4? What season is it?
This is season 40. What? No,
even
30.
Was part of the initial conversation.
What season is 30?
39?
30.
Which independence year is this?
Yeah, I just don't remember.
38 or 39.
That's the episode.
Yeah, that's the season. Every independence year is a season. Anyway, we have a call. Caller, good morning. Oh, I guess we don't. That was quick. But this is just more. And then the thing is as well, there was numerous photos circulating as to who the individuals were, and many of the images were incorrect to begin with. And I would want to say, guys, let's not do this guessing game, because you're slandering people and they ain't do nothing. Like, some people were home doing nothing and the pictures being sent around saying that they are part of the robbery. Let's just wait, please. But we have a call. Caller, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, teachers.
Morning.
What kind of tea you serving this morning?
Me, no.
Okay, I want Thai.
You don't want Thai?
Do you have Thai?
No, we don't.
We could organize that for you.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
I'm coming with two things.
My man
First,
spoke
let me
to
start with this. Now, what's your prediction with Mike Tyson and Junior Roy Jones? Well, I can tell you my prediction. Tyson going to take it out quick. You know why? I think that way Roy Jones not fighting in his natural weight. And you can come up from a welterweight to light heavyweight and then come up to heavyweight and beat a natural heavyweight man like Tyson.
Our dear student, we'll talk about that at another time. We're talking
okay, but anyway, since you are reading out the thing what happened over Frigate Bay, let me get there now.
I should put you in the back of the class for that.
Okay then, I don't mind. I will go behind the knock drum.
Next is going out. You're going out the class.
Anyway, I want to say that the kind of penalty that is laid down for people who commit those kind of crime, it is like taking a piece of toilet tissue and rubbing off fingernail polish off a finger.
Useless.
People have a right to live in the place peacefully, undisturbed, because I have a child is an architect, and I never see when she join any plan for anybody's house. She never put on no burglar bars on the windows. But when the house done built, you had to go put on burglar bars. It should not be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna tell me, look where they go commit the crime. And then when time come for them, you're gonna hear them say, well, 5 years in jail, or maybe $40,000 or $30,000. That is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take them there and make an example out of them, so others will be will be shunned of thinking about doing or committing a crime.
Mm-hmm.
That is foolishness. Them kind of small paper, tissue paper punishment, what they call in punishment. That is encouraging them people to do them stupidness. You know. So I wish that those people, and I hope that those people who go in Parliament go make law, they would step up the penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Step them up, man. Number one, the gun ain't license. And then they gonna commit that, and then you're gonna get a little brush offness, and then to every year is only 9 months. Prison year, 9 months make a year in prison. They need to get the calendar year 12. Don't ease up on them. Send a message, let us stop it. Otherwise they're gonna continue. They're gonna continue doing what they're doing. And I want to big up the police them who responded so quick, and also the citizen who informed the police what was going on.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
All of us should live like that, you know?
Yeah, for sure. We have some more callers waiting, so let's get to them.
Okay, teachers.
All right,
take
student.
it easy.
Yeah.
Caller, good morning, welcome. Oh, no, we lost him.
Did we lose? We lose them? Yeah. Well, of course, call back. We'll await your call.
Wait, come in.
That's again? That's
all right.
All right.
Caller.
Welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Yes, notwithstanding the ceremony at the National Heroes Memorial Park, I think that the police action yesterday morning did us all proud.
Yes.
It showed up how that there are heroes who work every day to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was really heartwarming to see them in action. I just wanted to commend them for what they did.
Indeed.
Mr. Brantley did announce that he was going to be on the show this morning, and I encourage people to look forward to it.
Yes.
So I expect that you all would have your tough questions lined up.
Oh yes.
When you have people like that, you make every effort to get them to apprise us of developments.
To squeeze them out like a wash rag, yes.
I don't know what form it will take. What do you consider? What do you consider yourself as? Journalists, talk show hosts? How do you all?
A national hero.
A national. We like to go by the term national hero.
We're just in service of the people, so.
The voice of the people.
In service of the people. Far from journalists. Far from.
far from journalists.
Yeah.
Okay. Aspiring maybe then?
No.
We have no
not
intention
even
to
that.
ever be journalists.
Because your show is a mix of entertainment and education and politics and
It's everything. Social issues, lifestyle, everything.
Right. So I just wondered how do you brand yourself?
We'll think about it and get back to you.
I brand myself as a professional fetist.
Yeah.
A professional what?
A professional fetist, or formerly more locally known as a fetter.
Oh, okay. So how come you don't have more pets on the show?
Well, you see.
You need to see the bricks.
You see.
Okay.
That's why we turn the cameras off during the breaks.
Okay, look forward to the interview.
All right, thank you,
All right,
sir.
then.
All right. Let's pause for a minute and say a very big thank you to the listeners and viewers, because we always go in somewhere and somebody always has some ridiculously nice things to say, and it feels really good, to be honest. You go somewhere, oh my gosh, I just listen to y'all every day, and I just want to say why. But it feels good to know that
He's bursting with humility.
yes,
bursting.
We enjoy, we feel good to know that you're listening and tuning in every day.
Our cup runneth over.
Really, it really feels good. And, messages are always being passed to each other. Somebody will see me and tell, oh, I love Azim, I love Jade is funny, Amali don't know he plays, all kind of things. And, we always
Kevon always troops in.
And I always troops in. It's only since somebody pointed out, I just realized how much of the troops are true. I just troops a lot. Well, you know why that is? Because people sell a lot of stupidness.
And I know I'm not out of place.
Imagine that.
If they really knew Kevon, they would know better.
But
I'm quite charming, actually.
It's called image. I have controlled my image successfully. So, all right, nobody tell me nothing. But we have another call. Caller, good morning.
Yes, gentlemen. How do you guys weigh the police action yesterday?
How do we wait?
Yeah, how do you weigh the action of the police and the trigger safety being removed, command is being given, and not one shot was fired, and the kind of action you will think that the police is really, our police are really, really nice police, yeah?
Very.
Really nice police officers.
It's true.
Really nice police.
Those fellas are so fortunate to walk away breathing today.
To Robin Sinkins.
But it's true, he like the caller said, very fortunate to walk away.
This has to be in St. Kitts. If in another place or another time, another police officer will be singing a different story today.
Mm-hmm.
Carrying firearm in a robbery where officers' life are threatened and are being endangered and citizens are in danger. Where you have all clearance to use minimum force. And I tell you, it's something to look at and shake your head and wonder. This is St. Kitts. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. But yes,
you're right, man.
Very, because no bullet hole, no car chase, no bullet holes in the car, no casualties from the arrest.
Look, I think that's one of the reasons why we could be so lighthearted about this, because at the end of the day, there was no loss of life, no serious injuries, to my knowledge. And the main thing is, suspects are in custody. I think so many times there's this narrative put out, like the police don't do whatever because they ain't catching this person or they ain't catching that person. And so when they actually, and the thing is, a lot of this was captured on video and film and picture.
It was well recorded, yeah.
Right, so it's something that we should really commend the police force for, right?
Big time,
yeah. I mean, and the thing is, I don't know any details of the incident, but I think one of the things that we need to really start looking at is what is the motivations behind some of these actions. Because I mean,
if we figure that out,
you understand? Me looking at it is just like, why?
And also in the future, if anybody who plans to rob a family, let's try to rob them like next to the police station.
Because they forget the police station literally down the street.
Kevon shares a wall.
No.
Oh no, like after that, it's Cox and Screws, and then
it was the Cox and Screws complex where that occurred in. Remember, the police station is like the entrance to Marriott.
Yeah, that's true.
So just a stone's throw away, literally.
A stone's throw, yeah.
Man,
but I thought the SSU was at the police station though, so still very, very speedy response.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, like I said, thankfully no loss of life, and hopefully now the judicial system could do its work in putting this thing to rest. I think, and part of this thing, one of the pet peeves for me too is how long some of these cases are taking.
Like, next week they're gonna be back on the street and in like 3 years and be sentenced.
Yeah, I mean, I and like again, I don't know what, I only know a little bit from what was seen in the videos and things. But at the end of the day, no loss of life, and there's suspects in custody, I mean, yeah, that's definitely a plus. Because there's so many other situations where, like Carla said, it might not end so well.
That car would have looked like a cheese grater. Wow. I know caught on the compound still, you know? Like, what I was doing? My word.
Oh boy.
My
Welcome
word.
to.
I can't disappoint. Can't disappoint
Yeah,
them.
but hey. Such is Looney Tunes. When you live in Looney Tunes, you get tunes that are loony. So with that, we'll take a very short break and we'll come back with more Island Tea. Some tea time. We'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere. Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere.
How do I prepare a disaster plan? Step 1. Learn as much as you can. The first step is research. Do not wait until a disaster is coming to find important information. This step is incredibly important for your plan. Here are some things you should find out. What hazards are you exposed to? Do you live near the ocean or any rivers? Are you near to a volcano? The type of hazard you're exposed to will determine the way you prepare yourself. Find out about disaster plans at your child's school and at your workplace. Are there persons with disabilities in your family? Do you know how to help them? What about your pets? Do you have a plan for them? For more information, visit nema.kn or log on to NEMA SKN on Facebook.
Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere. Everybody beware.
Join us on Win FM every other Tuesday for Let's Talk IT from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. to hear our hosts, Naeem Richardson and Janiqua Esdale, speak about different aspects of social media, technology, and STEM advancements in youth. Tune in, ask questions, and let's talk IT. Brought to you by the St. Kitts Nevis Robotics Association.
He can move mountains.
Church Calling, the radio voice of the St. Kitts Christian Council, on Sundays from 7 to 8 p.m. on Win FM. Listen to recommendations for your physical, spiritual, and mental health. Call in and ask your questions or make your suggestions. It's our ministry, so let's participate. Church Calling, Sundays 7 to 8 p.m. Win FM 98.9, winfm.com.
Keep me in the valley. Keep me in the valley. Hide me from the rain. Hide me from the rain. My God is awesome.
There is no better time to discover what your National Bank Visa or debit card can do.
Next in line, please. Next in line, please. Can I welcome to Kevon?
Wait, weren't you the same guy?
Can I welcome to
Kevon? Never mind. Can I get a number 1 and 15?
Excuse me?
Number 1 and 15.
There's no number 15.
You take a 1 and a 5, you put them together and you make it huge.
Hey, Al, this guy needs a number 1 and a number 15. Oh, really? A 15? So your total is 4250?
Using your National Bank Visa debit or black card is fast, secure, and convenient.
Honey, which way to the movie? You again?
Welcome to Kevon Cinemas. You guys here for the kiddies party?
No, we're here for the big movie tonight.
That would be screen 4. Hope you enjoy the movie with your mom.
She's not my mom, she's my date.
Cashless SKN is our new lifestyle choice. National Bank, always here. Always here.
and I tried and I tried to make them understand. I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried, but they just can't understand. I tried and I tried, and the Lord know I tried to make them understand. I tried, I know I tried, but they just can't understand. The more victimization is upon their back, the more foolish they becomes. The more victimization is upon their back, they satisfy Lord for less. I tried, I know I tried, but they just can't understand. I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried, but they just can't understand. Oh God, people, when will they ever learn? This one turn them fool, that one turn them fool. So what are they waiting for? Fix up yourself and prepare to meet Jah, that you satisfy Lord for more. I tried, I know I tried, but they just can't understand. I try and I try and I try and I try, but they just can't understand. Father die in pain, mother die in pain, slavery continue. They say we have no right nowhere, in no corner of the world. And I try to make them know this, but they just can't understand. I tried and I tried and I tried to make them know, but they just can't understand. 24 hours make one day, they told us. 7 days make a week. And out of all of that, the whole 365, they can only name you 7 days. I tried and I tried, but they just can't understand. I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried, but they just can't understand. We beat them at night, we beat them by day. They take no heed. Church bell a ring and the children a sing, and them still satisfy Lord for less. I try and I try, but they just can't understand. I tried and I try and I try and I try, but they still can't understand. Son is waiting and condemn himself for his sentence, you know. Father in the field can't find a thing, and mother now.
And we are back. Welcome to
Island Tea.
Island Tea with you. I blanked for a hot second, Ming and tell a lie.
It was almost 3.
No, because I was figuring out which song to sing. And then I forget that we need bring back in the show. But we're still on tea time. So, let's talk about...
Allergy's killing me.
Yeah, your eyes red too.
Oh, this Captain Hill?
Let's talk about St. Kitts and Nevis. So, St. Kitts and Nevis is among CARICOM states identified as low-risk COVID-19 destinations that will allow travel from states similar, in the similar states without PCR tests prior to arriving and without having to undergo a quarantine period. And this will be effective on Friday, September 18th.
Tomorrow?
An agreement was reached to create a travel bubble as a recent CARICOM meeting held on Friday, September 11th. So St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines will be in the bubble as they presently meet the criteria. The other member states and associate members will be allowed to participate when they meet the criteria, Dr. Gonzalez said. Countries would be categorized ranging from those with no cases to those which had low, medium, high, and very high risk with respect to the rate of positive cases over a 14-day period. The level of risk would be determined by the amount of positive cases per 100,000 of the population within a 14-day period. Only those countries with no cases and those with the low risk category will be allowed to participate in the bubble. And the CARPHA They will assess relevant data to advise on the participation of the bubble, which was announced by the CARICOM chairman, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, after the September 11th special emergency session of CARICOM. Heads of government agreed that travelers from countries within the bubble will be allowed entry without being subjected to PCR testing prior to arrival and would also not have to undergo quarantine restrictions. Travelers, however, may be subjected to screening upon arrival.
So what's the screening? See that
temperature and thing.
So I think, I wonder if it's temperature check alone.
Probably temperature and symptom, but the symptom is probably gonna be, question and answer. Have you experienced any coughing and then
Yeah, probably.
We're probably gonna end up with some liars, to be completely honest.
And not only that, this might be an incentive for governments to not declare all relevant data.
But now how people get into St. Kitts?
How they getting here?
Mm.
How people being in here all the time?
Is everybody have charter flight to come?
No, but I suspect what you're gonna find happening is they're gonna be probably not charter like you personally going to just get a charter, but they'll probably be
scheduled charters.
Yeah, scheduled charters or like smaller aircraft. But I mean, this is if it was one way to start the interregional travel again, and this would have been it.
Yeah, this is a good incentive.
Yeah.
And we could also point out the fact that I really think, and I said this with like the most encouragement I could find in my body. As a Caribbean national, please travel to your other islands. You will learn so much, and you will realize how similar you are from the people who are basically just next to you. The Caribbean is a magnificent place, honestly.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it right now. You could travel tourist free. Like, most of these places you could go, and you don't have to bump into tours and, all the coaster buses full of tourists that blocking your view from taking your nice pictures with your scenery in the background. Take advantage.
I wonder what islands are really anticipating like a real influx of people.
You mean internationally?
No. Based on this.
On the bubble?
Like in the bubble. Like, I think it'll be very interesting to see exactly who moves from where to where.
Honestly, I think the most movement might happen between probably Dominica and St. Lucia, because I know they have a ferry and it's very cheap. And, there was a lot of... I don't think the travel was allowed, but I think now it's going to happen. Because some people work in St. Lucia, like they'll go for the week and go back on the weekend to Dominica.
Yeah, definitely.
But
same thing, Martinique and Guadeloupe.
Yeah, I think the travel probably going to happen the most between those two islands. Possibly Antigua as well, because Antigua is, the northern travel hub, flight-wise.
Yeah.
So they probably wouldn't get a lot of traffic too.
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting time.
Big time.
Because I for one have been calling for policies that incentivize persons to travel within the region, and so what better incentive than it being the only place you could actually go, at least without having to be subjected to long things up your nose and having to sit somewhere for 2 weeks before you're able to get along with your business.
That's crazy.
So, I think this is something that is gonna give us a lot of information moving forward as well.
Let's hope it really sparks the interregional travel fire, which is necessary. And then I hope the taxes as well go down, so we can actually do it.
Yo, there are a lot of people in the region who want to come think it's bad.
Bad.
Yeah, of course.
Especially from Anguilla.
Yeah.
Boy.
And I know there's a lot, and the thing is, a lot of people are also kind of having their eyes locked to St. Kitts, because St. Kitts is basically like the last person to have carnival. And since it ain't happened yet, people hope that something can happen. Because, all the other dates done gone. So everybody just no carnival at all, So the dates actually done gone. I think St. Kitts is like the only... A lie. Jamaica is still slated for next month. They have not cancelled.
There's other carnivals during the Christmas too, St. Croix Carnival doing is exactly the same time as ours too.
Didn't know that.
They like being things, see?
There's St. Croix and there's another island. I'm pretty sure Carla is gonna enlighten us as to what the other island is. I don't know how I can forget this.
Put it on the live if you remember.
I had the calendar memorized, but since they became less relevant.
Jesus Christ.
Hurtful, boy, hurtful.
Oh, $1 But oh my gosh, I'm so sick and fed up of y'all in here. Y'all just put me in situations that make me don't know what to say. But everybody gearing up for everybody keep messaging. Like I have friends regionally, I have friends scattered throughout the Caribbean, and everybody. Oh, see, same in. Yeah, well, they just repeated what Asim said. St. Croix. But I have friends throughout the region that just basically keep messaging me and asking me, saying he's having carnival, saying he's having carnival, saying he's having carnival. It's like the last. Like you're in a room and all the lights start to go. There's like the last bulb before you're in complete darkness, and everybody wants to know if they could pop up for it. And a lot of people actually still they had no idea St. Kitts borders are still closed.
Mm-hmm.
Like a friend asked me when if I come in to visit at some point. I said, "Where borders closed?" They said, "Still?" I said, "Yeah, they never opened."
What the boy playing with them?
I think this might be the record for the longest period of closed borders in the Caribbean. We have a call on the call. Carla, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I hear you talking about St. Croix Carnival. I call you from St. Croix. You said the carnival you like to be dead.
He get catch.
Let me tell you, right? St. Croix Carnival. I don't even want him to get it. I don't want to say it. It don't have no. I must say, it just stupid.
I was honestly, Carla Mingatel, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that response.
Every year, it's no other time of the year. I look forward to being St. Kitts for Carnival. One of my tell me here, Shane, I St. Kitts is here. And when I come back down and she said, "Girl, not me again, never again. That's the worst thing I ever did."
So you come to St. Kitts during the carnival season to partake?
Every year.
Every year.
When you see Juve, the Juve start maybe like 9. By 9:30, Juve done.
What?
And the village, you only could go village. You don't have nothing like in the day, like St. Kitts, you go village in the night, and something like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, village closes. Dumb. This is the best. St. Kitts is the best place down. So, one thing I could say about them, the parade, they'll be pretty, and a lot of elderly people, nobody watching them, they go out and they got fun. But otherwise, in between there, I think the carnival wants some sugar in it.
Wow.
Yeah, so you all have a safe morning.
All right then.
Bye.
Thanks, yeah.
All right, thank you for that. We thought we were getting views off, but we
should just come to reiterate.
Let me read some of these. So Axman saying same in St. Croix. Hugo saying Montserrat and St. Croix.
Montserrat, that's the one I was trying to remember.
Axman is saying again that it's not as good as home for sure, and he's saying that the caller wasn't lying at all.
Montserrat, the place, the time to go to Montserrat is during
St.
Patrick's. That is when you go to.
But you see, this is what I was talking about earlier.
Fascinating, eh?
This is what I was talking about earlier. The listeners and viewers. We had a listener listening all the way in St. Croix who called us to tell us, hey, we're calling from St. Croix and I want to comment on the topic. And that's, it's just not St. Kitts listeners. Literally everywhere. We have listeners everywhere. We have St. Martin listeners as well. Someone in the live is saying it. St. Martin listener. St. Croix. We have Anguilla listeners. Antigua listeners, I'm sure. In New York, Florida, Texas.
And there's one Gaston calling one to defend himself.
Yeah, I want. Welp.
You might want to interview after today.
Oh, boy. And with that, we will take... No. Okay. We won't. So, let me do one more topic before we take a break. So Barbados is now making a push to become a republic.
Really?
And leaving the colonial past behind.
Oh my God. Me, it does make me happy every month.
Let me tell you. And the thing is about this, everybody's arguing, but I don't think people understand what these things are. That's the problem. Let me continue. So, Barbados should become a republic and leave its colonial past behind. A top official said on Wednesday, after the Caribbean island nation said that it wants to remove Britain's Queen Elizabeth as its head of state.
Yes.
A former British colony that gained independence in 1966. The nation of just under 300,000 has maintained a formal link with the British monarchy, as some of the other countries have as well, since they were once a part of the British Empire. The time has come to fully leave our colonial past behind, said Barbados Governor General Sandra Mason, delivering a speech on behalf of the country's Prime Minister Mia Mottley. Mottley won her seat in 2000 by a landslide, all seats I think it was, in 2018. Barbadians want a Barbadian head of state. This is the ultimate statement of confidence in who we are and what we are capable of achieving, said Mason. Hence, Barbados will then take the next logical step towards full I could never do that word, help me. Sovereignty.
Yeah.
I hate that word.
Wow.
Honestly, I hate that word. But yeah, it is butcher my tongue. But that word.
It's a simple word though.
Yeah, but you know, there's just some words that just get you.
Yeah, there's some words that just trip up some
There's
people.
some words that get me.
That's why anytime I have a chance, I say moist.
Anyway, yeah. Barbados is trying to become Barbados is trying to become a republic by the time we celebrate our 55th anniversary of independence, and that
Which is when, next year?
Anniversary is November 21st.
Of what year?
Not November 21st, November 2021.
So they're making moves now.
November 21.
Well.
2021. So they have basically a 1 year to get this underway. A 1 year time frame.
So does that mean the Gigi would become the president? I mean, they got to rewrite the constitution and say,
let's go some more. Let's go some more.
Something that I've been balling about. Oh,
let's go some more.
Because
Mia Mottley, when the conversation of presidency came up, lots of I'll say Caribbean people, because it wasn't just Bajans in the comments. They were fussing and saying, "Oh, Mia doing this because she wants the presidency." Mia quickly released a statement saying, "I have no interest in being president."
With the quickness.
But
even in republics, they show that the prime minister is still got more power than the president.
Yes, she said it's just a head of state, but
it's the same thing as the governor. It's just a figurehead.
It's a figurehead.
It's a ceremonial thing.
Yeah.
But then here, let's go some more. So the Caribbean nation, Barbados, the suggestion has obviously been met with skepticism. The idea of becoming a republic has been put forward by many different governments over the past decade, and more recently there has been frustration with the government's delay in removing colonial statues. So the bronze statue of Admiral Lord Nelson, erected in 1813, still stands on Broad Street in the capital city of Bridgetown. It was scheduled for removal last month when different countries around the world started removing similar statues from public spaces, protesting against the racism the current state of racism, in the global atmosphere. Roy Morris, press secretary to the Prime Minister of Barbados, said in response to a question that was posed that there was no particular trigger for the timing of a renewed push to become a republic other than fulfilling a long-standing promise by the island's politicians. So, honestly, Mia is making the moves, and honestly, I think these are moves the Caribbean needs to make.
Yes.
I don't understand why we still, we still operating under British rule to some extent. Like,
it does not maybe the Prime Minister of the Caribbean.
That would be a dream come true. And you see lots of things we saw. We also saw the other day that Mia, she was pushing for. Hold 1 minute. Let me find the article because I don't want to misquote. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Barbados was also doing some big developments in terms of civil unions. So Barbados announced about 2-3 days ago that Mia Mottley administration is preparing to recognize civil unions for couples of the same gender. The island has increasingly found itself on international lists of having poor human rights records. Because of this, they can't afford to be blacklisted when it comes to the external funding and investment of outsiders. This was an article. This is not Mayor Matley's statements. But this was announced by the Governor General, Dame Sandra Mason, in the throne speech during a historic opening of Parliament on Tuesday. So not only are they moving to become a republic, they're also now working on their civil issues, colonial civil issues.
Yeah,
so
I
to
think
speak.
it's kind of crazy that we have politicians that we elect and then turn around and swear allegiance to the Queen, and her what did I say?
I always told myself, if I was ever going for election and I do saying the same, I refuse to repeat those words.
Which words?
Publicly. That's allegiance to the Queen. May say
Oh
that.
yeah, that's.
So it's either they're going to not sue me now or our friends may talk about
the Queen and her children.
Anyway, we'll pause for a short pause right now. We have the sheriff ready to speak with us, so we're gonna pause and get that set up and then be back for some more conversation on Island Tea.
To avoid getting the coronavirus, remember to wash your hands thoroughly and frequently before and after preparing food, after using the toilet or changing a diaper for a baby, sick person, or the elderly, after blowing your nose, and after leaving large gatherings or moving away from persons who appear.
As we celebrate 37 years of independence of St. Kitts and Nevis, we are encouraging all to wear all national colors on Friday 11th, green, Monday 14th, yellow, Tuesday 15th, black, Thursday 17th, white, Friday 18th, red, and on Saturday 19th, Independence Day, we are encouraging all to wear all national colors. Resilience, innovation, and security for Independence 2020.
Even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
A small island in the West
Welcome back to Island Tea with your faves, Kevon and Amali, featuring Azim on the ones and 96s and Jade on the OBS and the mouse. And we are about to eat local with the Honorable Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I apologize to you. I was listening earlier and then I had a internet glitch, it appears. So please forgive me for being late. I don't like to be late.
But you're the boss.
I think it's an indication of one's respect when one is on time. So
Definitely.
I really appreciate you having me on to have this conversation. And although I'm technologically challenged, I hope that we can have a good chat this morning.
I think we should be fine. Oh yes. So before we start, we have to talk a little bit about your infamous style and fashion. What should we expect? Some extra outfits for the weekend?
But that's in my wife's hands. So if I knew you'd ask that question, I would have her on to talk to you about that.
She's the stylist.
Each independent, she decides that she's going to take care of that. So I have no idea.
Okay.
That sounds so exciting.
The key to a long marriage is doing what your wife says. So whatever she
noted.
I will wear. Yeah. So I don't know.
Oh boy. So let's start off with we have listeners happening that are tuned in from all around the world apparently. Let's start off with introducing yourself. Tell us who Mark Brantley is, and tell us a little bit about who he is.
Well, as you know, I'm currently the Premier of Nevis. I function also as Foreign Minister for St. Kitts and Nevis, so I play a dual role. In terms of quick history, I was born in Hanley's Road. That's in the Gingerland area. When I was probably about 8 years old, I moved to Brown Hill. It's about 2 miles from Charleston, where I grew up. And I would have attended the chapel school, as we used to call it, which was a school for the Methodist Church. And then from there, when they built the Gingerland Primary School, now called the Joyceland Libert Primary, I would have been the first batch of students to go there. When my family moved, of course, I moved to Brown Hill and then attended the Prospect Primary, which is now called the Ivor Walters Primary, and from there to Charleston Secondary School. Did well academically, couldn't run, couldn't jump, but was okay with the books. And that, I think, opened some doors for me. So I did well at O levels, went on to A levels, and then from there, won a scholarship to go to UWI, where I did law. I then went to Norman Manley Law School. I graduated first in class, which was significant at the time because it was first in the entire region. And then from there, I won a further scholarship to go to Oxford University, where I did postgraduate work. I then opted to come home because I always wanted to be home. I had job offers in New York, I had job offers in London, in the BVI and elsewhere, but I wanted to be here in Nevis. And so I decided to come home. And I've been here ever since. I practiced initially as a lawyer, had some measure of success there. And then I suppose lost my senses and decided to get involved in politics. So here I am today, and I'm trying my best to make a contribution. So that is as precise a version as I can give, given the limited time that we have available to us on the show today.
Okay, brilliant. And you ended that, where we want to begin actually, which is your transition from law into politics. So I wonder what time, what year did you transition from the law to the politics, and what inspired that?
To be entirely frank, I've always had an interest in politics, but I was more interested in the political commentary. I was interested in the idea of politics as opposed to participatory politics or elective politics. I recall when I got back from Oxford, I was young, felt, having gone to the number one university in the world, I thought that I had something to offer. And I used to write these long treatises. I would stay in my office until 3 and 4 in the morning, writing policy papers on things like financial services and how we could do it better.
Right.
And I used to send these long documents to the government, and they never responded to any of them. And it was a little disheartening because I felt that as a young Nevisian, I had so much to offer and nobody was studying me. I wasn't getting any attention at all. So that was, I thought to myself, and then I used to visit ministers because I'm a very, very pro-education, and particularly for poor people. I grew up very, very poor. And I thought that education was really my way out of poverty. And I think it's the only proven way for people to advance themselves individually, families to advance themselves, and for the communities and society as a whole to advance itself. And so even now in my public life, you always hear me talking about scholarships, because I was the beneficiary of scholarships, without which perhaps I would not have been able to get the education that I got. So I was very pro that. And I remember I used to go to the ministers and say, listen, there's a young man from this area, a young woman from this area. I think they're bright. Can you help? And again, you know, it was always a struggle to get the attention of the politicians. And then after a while, I just thought to myself, well, instead of going and talking to them and asking them to do things, why don't I try to do it myself? And try to help people. Even so, however, I still did not, I wasn't sure about it. I had a very successful law practice. I had offices here in Anguilla. I was doing work in BVI in Dominica and Grenada.
Wow.
You know, I traveled to places like, Hong Kong and elsewhere to give expert evidence, you know, states in the United States. I had a very, very robust law practice, a commercial law practice. And, you know, we handled some significant cases. I mean, we were doing cases in Nevis involving companies valued at $50 billion US. So we're talking about big, heavyweight litigation. But after a while, you know, it becomes unfulfilling. Making money is useful, but at the end of the day, it is not all that there is to life. And I got to a point where I wanted to do something different. I'd been approached by both leaders at the time, the Honorable Joseph Parry and the Honorable Vance Amory, asking me to join, in the case of Parry, to join the NRP, in the case of Vance, to join the CCM. And I weighed the options, and my wife was ambivalent. She doesn't like politics at all. And so, you know, she had to be persuaded. But we went back and forth on it for a while. And then in 2006, after the CCM lost the election in Nevis and went into opposition after 14 years in government, I finally took a decision to enter politics. And I preferred the CCM. And so I entered politics in opposition. That is unusual, because normally people gravitate to the party in government. But I gravitated to the party in opposition. And at the time also, Alexis Jeffers, who's now the Federal Minister of Agriculture and the Deputy Premier of Nevis, he also came into the fold at the same time. And so together we started, you know, we brought the youth and the vim, vigor and vitality, the energy to the party. The party had just suffered a loss, I think it was in June or July of 2006. And then, of course, we had the tragic death of Malcolm Gishard, who at the time was still a federal representative and a representative for number 9, Nevis 9, and leader of the opposition at the federal level, but had lost government in Nevis at the NIA level. And just a year after I entered politics as a senator on the opposition benches in Nevis, I was thrust into the deep end when I was asked by the party to contest the by-election to fill Malcolm's seat. And that's where the sheriff was born, and the rest, as I said. So I won that election by a landslide, 30 votes. And thereafter, it has been, you know, sort of from step to step and from stage to stage. So I'm content, though, that I must be doing something that is at least the voters appreciate, because I have increased my margins significantly in each election that I've been able to run. And just for the record, you know, I was listening the other day and they were talking about the politicians on St. Kitts, and persons, of course, like Dr. Timothy Harris, who's well loved and very popular in his constituency and has done extremely well, and others. And they were commenting on how many elections. And I think that you ought to recognize that I have actually run in 2007, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2015, 2017, 2020. I've actually had 7 elections in the space of the last 14 years.
Wow.
So it's been an interesting journey, and so far I think quite rewarding. I've tried to do the best that I can to help here in Nevis and of course the wider Federation. And I believe that we have had some setbacks, to be sure, but we've also had some successes that I hope we can talk about.
Oh yeah, we are going to get into that very, very shortly. Very, I'm excited. So firstly, you mentioned that you joined the CCM, you know, while right after the you know, horrible loss, and you know, whenever that happened. Why the CCM and not the NRP? Because I asked Sean the same question during the campaign, and he spoke about party ideology, right? He said, he had offers from both Labour and from PAM, to join their ranks. And so I asked him, why did you choose PAM? And he said, because of what PAM believed in, what PAM's vision was in terms of ideology and the way forward for the country. So why CCM and not NRP?
Well, I'm going to answer differently to Sean Richards because, frankly, I don't see there's much difference in ideology in politics now in St. Kitts and Nevis, or in politics even regionally. There's some countries you see a marked difference. You can talk about right and left, or even moderate, conservative, liberal. Here, I think that politics here is more about personality. It's more about who people feel is competent and who people feel that they have confidence in. I mean, let us look at, say, the Labour Party that was in office for 20 years, and then we transitioned to a unity government. The Prime Minister that we now have came out of Labour.
Right.
What fundamental difference in policy or philosophy have we seen? I think it comes down to who people have confidence in to manage the country in an effective way. And that, I think, was for me, what the decision was all about. It was who I had more confidence in.
Okay.
Mr. Parry likes to say that I'm his cousin, although he publicly said the other day that we are not friends. Perhaps he thinks that we are more than friends. But the truth is that I thought that Mr. Amri at the time, there was more gravitas to him, even in opposition. He had a team around him that I got along well with most of them. I had a sort of affinity, if you will, to those individuals. Mr. Parry, whom I also have tremendous respect for, the difficulty I had with him was the people around him. And I think that is still the downfall of the NRP. Some of their chief spokespersons are people who inspire zero confidence. They've done nothing with themselves, and all they do all day long is attack and castigate other people, sometimes innocent private citizens, for no apparent reason. I don't see how that could be an effective strategy. So for me, it really wasn't about Mr. Parry per se. I quite like Mr. Parry, I still do. I quite have a tremendous level of respect for him. I think it was the team that he had around him that, for me, was not inspiring. I thought we couldn't win with that team. And I'm all about winning. I think, regardless of what one says in politics, you have to win if you're going to make a difference.
Yes.
So, but having a strong opposition, that's fine, and that's great. But at the end of the day, governments are who set and implement policy, and you have to win if you want to be in government. So having a formula to get you into government is critical. And in 2006, when I came in, I set about that. By 2007, we won the by-election, and I think that put CCM back in its winning ways. So that by 2010, we won again. 2011, we had the infamous Black Fox in Cox, and so we lost by 14 votes with 14 rejected ballots, and 203 of my supporters removed overnight from the voters list.
Wow.
We went to court, we won that case, which created history because election petitions are notoriously difficult to win. But we went to court, we won that case, and we went on in 2013 to win that election convincingly. We won again in 2015 at the federal level. And then, of course, in 2017, I took over the leadership of CCM after Van Samry decided he would retire. And I became leader in October, and by December, took the party to the polls, and we won 4 of the 5 seats on offer at the local level in Nevis. Only the second time in history that has been achieved. And then in 2020, of course, on the 5th of June, we would have gone to the federal election and we created history again, winning all 3 seats on Nevis for the first time in the history of CCM, which is a party that's 34 years old. So I feel that the progression is there, the statistics are there in terms of electorally what we've been able to achieve.
Okay, brilliant. Very quickly before we jump into the real meat of the interview, well, not the interview, the conversation. Growing up and leading into your transition from line to politics, I mean, you mentioned Joseph Parry and others, but who are the other politicians nationally, both locally in Nevis and in St. Kitts, did you admire or who inspired you to take that leap of faith into, the bullring?
As I said, insofar as the bullring, as you term it, is concerned, that really came about because I wanted to do more. I wanted to help, particularly young people. I felt that we needed somebody who had walked that path who understood what it was like to be impoverished, to not have opportunity. I remember the days walking to school, rain or shine. If you were lucky, somebody would stop and give you a lift. I didn't have money for a bus. We were poor people. And having walked that path, having seen that one could achieve some measure of success through education if opportunities were provided. Because I go back to where I started and say, were it not for scholarships that I won, I'm not so sure I would be where I am today. So I wanted to sort of cement that and to afford our people, particularly young people, a better way. And I thought that having, that focus and being involved in the process itself, rather than staying outside the process. Many people stay outside the process and criticize the process, or they have all the answers. I comment all the time publicly about those who want to play cricket from the pavilion, because they stay in the pavilion and they always are going to tell the batsman, you play the wrong shot, or they tell the bowler, you can't bowl.
Right.
But they themselves are never prepared to go out in the pitch, either to bat or bowl. So we constantly, I'm not suggesting that the pundits aren't necessary, but if all of us were just engaged in punditry, it means that nobody would actually be on the field doing the work. And what I found actually in St. Kitts and Nevis, and this might be controversial, but I found that the best and brightest of us tend to make a lot of money in our respective professions. So whether we're lawyers, doctors, construction, whatever it is, the best tend to rise to the top. Because people are making money, they are less inclined to get involved with politics. Because politics, if you're going to be honest as a politician, really does not pay. Despite what people talk about politicians making all kinds of money, I will tell you, and I will say to the nation and all those viewing, I took a tremendous pay cut when I decided to enter politics. When they say service, it really is service. And for me, being involved with that whole process was important. It was critical to sort of bring, at the time I didn't have the gray in my beard, I was much younger. The idea was that, more young people would gravitate to the process and really see that it could be done. And that over the years, I felt that those who couldn't succeed at anything else, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but those who had not demonstrated success in business or anything, were the ones who were gravitating to politics. We have seen many examples of that. In Nevis, we had some fellows who said, boy, I try everything, nothing works, so let me try politics. And I think that then becomes the recipe for you getting the worst possible people involved in the process. And that is where the allegations now of dishonesty and people stealing and corruption, I think, come to the fore. And so I thought that, let me, instead of just critiquing and engaging in punditry and staying in the pavilion and constantly criticizing the batsman, let me go out and bat and see if I can make a few runs. And so that is how sort of that transition for me came about.
Okay, brilliant. Next, based on the state of the nation when you entered politics to where we are now, how would you rate the nation's progress? And secondly, do you believe that the role you played in that progress was significant? And how so?
Well, let me, before I answer that, go back a moment, because you did ask me about who my influence was. And my only influence really in politics has been our sole national hero from Nevis, the Right Excellent and Right Honorable Sir Simeon Daniel.
Okay.
He was a mentor to me. He and my father were very, very close friends. And so I grew up around him. And I later, when I became a lawyer, joined his law firm that we later transformed. And so I had a very, very close relationship with him. And a lot of what I have tried to do is really a reflection of the things that he taught me. And a lot of what I'm trying to do now, even in attracting young people, identifying talent and trying to nurture and develop it, provide opportunities for them to study. I think this was a model that he used with many others. I won't get into the names, but he has helped so many of us to come through. And so I think that is the hallmark of great leadership, and that is what I'm trying to emulate. He rose to the highest heights of popularity and power in Nevis and St. Kitts Nevis, but he remained so humble and so dignified. As I've said, I think he epitomized dignity, and that is what I myself am trying to pattern myself off. So I think if there was one influence, it was Sir Simeon. I think he inspired an entire generation of us to do better. And I'm hopeful that whatever little time I'm allowed on the stage, that I too can inspire a few people to do better. Now, insofar as our nation, I think by any measure, St. Kitts and Nevis has improved dramatically. I looked recently at the politics in Jamaica and the election there. And I looked on because Jamaica, of course, is a significant country, far more resourced than we are in terms of people and resources, natural resources. And when I listened to the pitch that the politicians were making to be elected, and I hear them say things like, we're going to get water, pipe-borne water into your area. We are going to get a road into your area. These are things that we take for granted in St. Kitts and Nevis. In the island of Nevis, for example, little as we are, there is no area in Nevis that doesn't have water. There are no areas that don't have road access, and I mean proper road access, and we continue to improve that network of roads, of water distribution. When I look at the healthcare system and see the strides that we have made, is it perfect? Absolutely not. But sometimes when I hear our own people attack our country and call it down and try to belittle the achievements, and I say to myself, I wish sometimes they could spend some time in other places. Because if you go to some of the bigger countries, you go to the tourist resorts, or you go to the city centers and you stay at the hotels, it seems okay. But when you venture out into the hinterlands and you see how what I would call the real people live, I think that we are far and away ahead of most of our peers in the region, and far away ahead of most countries in the world. And I've had the privilege of traveling for a bit, so I think I'm qualified to speak to that. And I think that our people should appreciate the significant achievements and strides that we have made, whether it's law and order, whether it's infrastructural development, whether it's the economy, whether it's citizenship by investment. I'm very proud that St. Kitts and Nevis gave the world the idea of citizenship by investment. And yes, there have been critics, but we now have Portugal, we have Cyprus, we have Malta, we have, the UK, we have the US with the EB5 visa program, we have Canada, we have St. Lucia, Dominica, Antigua. They all copied St. Kitts and Nevis. And the fact that the smallest island, the smallest country, in the hemisphere, could have innovated to that level to come up with this idea that we could leverage our citizenship for investment and economic advancement. And one must give Dr. Simmons credit, our only living national hero, because it was his administration that came up with this idea. The idea, of course, was later refined by Dr. Douglas as Prime Minister, but the kernel of the idea, it was the first time in the world that this had been attempted. So when we look at these things, we look at a Kim Collins who went on the world stage and beat everybody. And we continue to just whatever. We look at Little Nevis, having produced all these cricketers to have graced the world stage as West Indies cricketers. El Comido Willett was the very first Leeward Islander to play for the West Indies team. And we can go on and on and on. The reality is that we have achieved a lot. We have punched well above our weight as a country. When people look at us and our size, and as foreign minister, I get it all the time where people say to me, I'm amazed at how much you can achieve with a tiny foreign ministry that you have, because we have hundreds of people in our foreign ministry and we're not seeing the results that St. Kitts and Nevis has been able to achieve. So I think that by any measure, we have done extremely well. And one of the things I would like to encourage you, gentlemen, because you're young people, is that we see the value in our country, that we continue to promote what is best in our country, and that those who are bent on negativity and pulling down and seeking to suggest that we are doing so badly here, that we are quick to correct them and to point out to them that our country has made tremendous strides as a young country, only 37 years old, and from whence we have come to where we now are. I think it has been amazing. I am 51 years old, and I will tell you that in my 51 years, I have seen such a tremendous transformation of the island of Nevis. The house in stock. I grew up in a home where we didn't, there was no electricity in our neighborhood. You had one little black and white 13-inch television that the whole neighborhood came to watch. That was the nature of what we endured at the time. So I feel that we have made tremendous strides.
Okay, and Very good. So I guess you'd rate our progress, a 10 out of 10 based on,
Well, I don't know. 10 out of 10 suggests you have nowhere further to go. What I will say is I will rate it highly, but of course, there's always more work to be done.
Okay.
I listened earlier. You mentioned some of the social issues that, say, Prime Minister Mia Mottley is trying to tackle. I think all of those are relevant issues which would benefit from a wider discussion in terms of where we go as a country. But I think by any measure we have done well. And insofar as my own contribution, I think that chapter is still being written. And so I will continue to do my best. And then it will be for others, obviously, to determine whether or not I made a contribution to our development.
Well, Jade is almost as if he like know exactly what I'm going to ask.
Right?
He keep answering all the questions before I ask them.
A prepared man.
Because my next question was actually going to be, do you think that you played the role you saw yourself playing or you wanted to play over the last several years in politics? I mean, you ran in 7 elections locally and nationally, sorry. So looking back on where we've come to where we are now, to where we are now, do you think that you played the role Mark Banley wanted to play in that development?
I think my role is still being played. I don't know for how much longer because
to date,
I think politics is a young people game. The energy that it requires. I really admire people like Van Samry and others who went on for a very long time and still have the passion for it. I don't see myself being in politics at 70 and those kinds of ages. I would want to get up to a point where I can offer advice to others that are coming in. And as a party, the CCM is currently in a rebuilding stage, even though we are winning and have won every election except one since 1992 in Nevis. And now we're winning by convincing margins where we are actually winning all the seats. We're still in a process of rebuilding. And one of the things that we're trying to do now is to bring our youth to the fore. And so we have some youth arm that we're very proud about. We have
you had the elections recently, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a lot of youth now involved in our process. And we are going to try to populate our ministries and populate our boards and all of that with more youth going forward. So I'm still in that process. I think my chapter is still being written. And I've always, I suppose, attracted some level of controversy simply because I'm outspoken. And I don't believe in I think politics is public business and one should be willing to engage with the public. And that is why whenever I'm offered an opportunity to be on radio or television, I tend to accept it. Because I don't believe in the backroom dealings aspect of politics. I think we come to the people, we let the people know what the issues are. There'll sometimes be good news and there's sometimes it's going to be bad news because that is the nature of life. And the life of a nation is no different to the life of the individuals that make up that nation. There are good times and bad times. We're going through a very bad time now, for example, with COVID-19. So for me, have I made that contribution? I think that I have a little bit more to do before I exit stage left. I'm trying to gauge my exit properly so that I am not pushed, but rather I prefer to jump. And so we're going to see how that goes. But I think that I'm still trying. I'm still trying at the local level. I'm still trying at the national level. And I think at the end of the day, it will be for you, gentlemen, who more than likely will be the ones to write our history, for you to determine whether or not I warrant a footnote.
Exactly, so be nice.
I'm trying to be nice. Even though you criticize my socks, I'm still trying to be nice.
He didn't let it go.
I think it's more
those are what you call socks up?
Oh boy.
Yes.
So very quickly, where do you personally see the Federation going over the next 10 years and the next 20 years? And I mean with regard to things like education, aviation, tourism, agriculture, manufacturing, basically economic development. You said when you entered politics for the first time, you entered politics to make a difference, to help people, to make change. You've been in the ring for quite some time now. Not as long as others, but still some time. And you say you're not finished batting yet for the people. So in terms of the next, the short term and long term, vision that you have for the country, where do you see us going?
I see more development is necessary on both islands. We have had a very lopsided sort of approach to development in St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts, of course, is the bigger island, and naturally has consumed most of the resources that have come in.
Mhm.
Nevis has sort of been the smaller sister, so to speak, with fewer people in terms of a population, and has consumed far less of the resources. I think that what we need is a national plan. A national plan in the sense that we get away from the St. Kitts versus Nevis or the Nevis versus St. Kitts approach to development. And we determine, for example, that, hey, we are going to do, I don't know, an avocado plantation, and it's best suited on Nevis. Let's do it there. We're going to do a poultry industry. It's best suited in St. Kitts. Let's do it there. We need a particular type of boutique hotel. It's best suited in Nevis. There's a wonderful site there. Let's do it there. And so we have that approach instead of what we do now, where it's almost as if, investment comes and you try to capture all of it on St. Kitts or on Nevis, as the case may be. I think that would help if we had a national approach to development, a national approach to all that we do. That would be very helpful. Insofar as the economy is concerned, that is always where the rubber meets the road, because that is where you grow and develop, and that is where our people benefit in terms of being able to afford to live.
Indeed.
So the economy and the economic development, I think that we can do more in tourism. I think that the two islands working closer together can achieve much more than we're achieving now. St. Kitts, for example, has a competitive advantage in cruise. Nevis has a competitive advantage in stay-over visitors. And again, if you go back to a national strategy, you would want to encourage the parts of the country with a competitive advantage. You look at, say, a country like Mexico, which is a vast country compared to us, but you would realize that the tourism belt in Mexico is in a particular area. So you don't see Mexico City talking about tourism, because that's not where the government nationally has said that we would like to see tourism flourish. So, these are some of the issues, I think, but it comes from planning. I have seen in countries, particularly those in Asia, where they have sometimes 50-year plans.
Right.
We don't do that. We go from election cycle to election cycle. In Nevis, the election cycle is even shorter. In St. Kitts, you have at least 5 years. In Nevis, is every 2.5 years we have an election. And so it's difficult sometimes to plan, because proper policy requires time. If you're going to implement something where you say, listen, I want to turn the corner on crime, and so I want these interventions to happen, and I'm going to start with primary school children, you realize that it's an investment that will take years, because you're trying to change behavior. You're trying to change attitudes. And that takes time. So if, of course, people are looking for results in 2 years, then it becomes very difficult. And I think that is why a lot of us as politicians, we build a road, we put up a building, because you could finish that in quick time. And you say to people, look at this road, look at this building.
Yeah.
Not to suggest that is not important, because infrastructural development is important. But I think if we get to a stage where we have a national plan, that we have buy-in from the country, we have buy-in from the opposition, we have a contribution from various stakeholders, so that whoever comes into government knows that this is our national approach. And I think that would help in terms of ensuring that we don't have 2 or 3 years under one government doing one thing, and then the next government changes it, and we have to start over again, and that cycle continues. So I feel that there's work to be done. I feel that we have much more to do, but I am very optimistic about this small country of St. Kitts and Nevis. I think that by all indicators, we have done extremely well. We have met our challenges in a head-on way. We had a serious challenge with crime and insecurity in the country. We have approached it. I know the approach has not garnered fullest support. There have been criticism, but that is the beauty of our democracy. In our democracies, we have to be prepared to support those having a voice who are opposed to us, even as we support ourselves and those who have a voice that is similar to us. Because I have learned in my life that even your harshest critics sometimes have something of value to pass on, if you're only prepared to listen. And so I don't shut down people. I have my own personal mantra, which is to ignore the noise, because clearly some of it is noise that people are simply making. But it's important to listen and to filter out, but also as leader to take advantage of the ideas and to take the ideas on board. So I think a national plan which has buy-in, where we can say this is a 10-year plan for St. Kitts and Nevis. This is a 20-year plan for St. Kitts and Nevis. And we know that whatever government comes into office will continue with the execution of that plan, because if they were in opposition at the time, they themselves would have contributed to it, I think would be a matter that would be helpful.
Well, that's something that we've really discussed here, even on the show. The need for something that extends past the election cycle. And it's really heartwarming to hear you say that. And you every time you speak about it, you say the national plan for St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is something that I find interesting, because based on your answer just now, it seems as though you are in full support of these two islands staying together, staying as one federation. But we have seen in times past ramblings and discussions of secession and possibly independence separately for both states. So, like I said, I'm going to assume that your personal position is one where you see St. Kitts and Nevis going forward. However, I do think that there is somewhat of a culture, a bit of a separation between persons on both islands, and this is for me personally seeking to understand where that comes from, and trying to figure out how best do we move forward. Because if we are going to have national plans, if we are going to have both nations or both islands, moving together as one, like that cannot only be on paper in policy, but also in the hearts of the people. So where does that sense of separation come from, traditionally and historically, especially now, this is independence time, and how do you think we could help to mend those bridges?
Well, I think you asked an excellent question, and unfortunately, most of us shy away from these types of discussions, which are, to me, the discussion that the country needs to have in an open, frank, and honest way. Yes, secession. In fact, I was one of those as a younger person who was very ingrained and involved in that secession effort that was made in Nevis. I was asked by the then Premier Van Zemer to chair the Constitutional Commission to develop a new constitution for Nevis. And I am an unabashed supporter of the Nevisian people. That, however, doesn't mean that one cannot adapt and seek to, if you will, come to a position where the nation progresses together. When the CCM joined Team Unity in the lead up to the 2015 elections, I think this was the promise. And for people like me, this is still the promise of a Team Unity government, that we would try to get away from the isms and the schisms that hitherto separated us, and that we would seek to govern for St. Kitts and Nevis, that we would see our country as a single country, not as two islands in competition with each other, where when one has the upper hand, they take advantage of the other, that kind of thing. And that was the promise. That promise, I think, is still to be realized, but it is a promise that we have to work on every day. It is not something that's going to happen overnight, and part of that is due to the history that you speak about. And I think it's important that our young people understand our history. There has always been a high level of interaction, intermarriage, a sort of socio-political connection between our two peoples. You talk to a lot of Kittitians, and I marvel all the time when I engage with my brothers and sisters in St. Kitts, and they're quick to remind me that my father from Nevis, my mother from Nevis, my grandmother come down here and live in Newtown. You go into a place like Newtown, there are lots of people there who trace their roots just a generation ago to Nevis. So, but understanding the culture, I think, is important. And we have had a period in our history when the relationship was not a kind relationship. It was not a good relationship. Mm-hmm. And when we think, for example, about how now national heroes, so Simeon Daniel and persons like that came to prominence, they actually came to prominence on a pro-Nevis platform, fighting against Labour and Bradshaw, national hero Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw at the time, because the sense was that St. Kitts was all about St. Kitts, and Nevis and Anguilla ultimately suffered. And so the people of Anguilla didn't even bother to go through with anything. They took up arms. And they decided, listen, we don't want St. Kitts here. And they threw out the governor. Mm-hmm. And that has been widely written about. Anguilla seceded by way of force. And it left St. Kitts and Nevis in this relationship. And there's still remnants of it. And that is why I say there's still work to be done. There's still people who, when you hear them talk, it's almost as if, you and Nevis are a step cousin. You're a step child somehow. You're not an equal. You're not a brother or sister. I said recently something, I didn't think it was controversial, but I'm told that it ruffled a lot of feathers. When I said that any boy or girl in Nevis should be able to aspire to be prime minister, should be able to aspire to be governor general, judge, any position that the country has to offer, ambassador, because they are a citizen of the country, imbued with the same rights, responsibilities of any other citizen. And equally, any boy or girl in St. Kitts, whether you're from Newton Ground, Deep Bay, you're from Bastia, it doesn't matter. You should be able to know that you can aspire to be anything in your country. The notion that some seem to have, that some positions are reserved for those from Nevis or those from St. Kitts, as the case may be, I think that we have to get past that if we're going to see our country as one. So my short answer is that when we joined Unity, I said publicly, and I say so now again, that I think it represented the last best chance for our country. Why I said that? Because it was bringing together disparate parties from different perspectives and trying to forge a single unit. And if Unity with PAM, PLP, and CCM cannot achieve that sense of oneness of purpose as a nation, then I don't know who else is going to be able to achieve it. We had 20 years under the Labour administration. Prior to that, we had 15 years, I believe it was, of PAM and NRP. Labour was about 15 years, then it became Labour and NRP because the NRP had jumped from PAM to join with Labour. And we never saw that manifestation of oneness of purpose as a country. So here we now have Unity. And I am involved in Unity, and I think it will be for us, PLP, PAM, and CCM, representing as we do now 9 seats out of 11 in the federal parliament. It will be for us to determine whether or not we can formulate a collective approach to national development, where we can instill in you, young people in St. Kitts and the young people in Nevis, that sense of oneness of purpose, that we fight for each other, that we struggle together, and that we triumph together. And it is a message that I will not resile from, because I think if we cannot achieve it, then arguably all will be lost and we will never achieve it, and our country will be split apart. Nevis will be forced to go, and St. Kitts will be forced to go. And that has implications for all of the economic intercourse and the social intercourse that we currently enjoy. So I think your question is an excellent one. It's a question I think that should be asked of all who are in leadership positions or aspire to be in leadership positions, because the people, in my respectful view, get along very well. Now some of you young men are coming over here, the young men in Nevis are complaining that the most beautiful young women now are seeking boyfriends in St. Kitts.
Amali.
Amali is responsible for that.
And that is correct. And that is correct.
Amali was not the only name mentioned to me, but I was on the top of the list. So the issue is that, there's a level of interaction. You can't have any fete in St. Kitts now and Nevis people aren't there. Look around Music Festival. Look at the White Sands event. Sometimes I think I'm at an event in Nevis, a number of divisions. Then look at Culturama in Nevis. You can't have no jamming now in the roads in Nevis without the people of St. Kitts coming over and supporting.
Yeah, man, so one family.
The truth is, there's a high degree of interaction already. It is at the political level that I think you tend to have the friction. The friction. And that I think needs to be resolved.
Yeah, and that leads me to I have two more questions for you. This one, which should be a short one because we're almost out of time. And then a little bit longer one after, but okay. But that leads into this question here. I mean, for what we just spoke about in terms of actually operating and living as one people, that requires an unprecedented level of political maturity from the folks that are currently involved in politics.
Yes.
I mean, based on your words this morning, I mean, it seems like you are ready personally to take that leap into actual literal oneness between the two islands. But I don't want, I'm not asking to bash your colleagues, but do you feel like the rest of your colleagues actually on that level and willing to engage with you, in that serious conversation?
I think that is part of my difficulty, and I'm not focused on my colleagues per se. I think I want to widen that to the political directorate at this point, opposition and government.
Right.
We spend so much time, I think, jockeying for position and bashing each other and trying to undermine sometimes each other, and that we don't, I think, in an honest and open way, confront the issues that the country needs to confront. You see this type of conversation that we're having here, that needs to happen more often. It needs to happen for longer. It needs to happen on a national stage, where at the end of the day, people are not offended that a division says, listen, we want a better share, or we want a greater share of the national pie. That people are not offended and things of that. When, a Kitchen says, well, listen, I believe that the prime minister should come from Sinkis because Sinkis is bigger. I think that what we need are conversations.
Honest conversations.
People are not to be afraid of those conversations. Insofar as there's some simple things, gentlemen and lady, that I feel that we can do just by a conscious effort. One of those things, for example, is that when we speak at a national level, we remember the name of the country. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've heard high officials of St. Kitts and Nevis representing St. Kitts and Nevis who refer to the country of St. Kitts.
Right.
It may sound simple. It may even sound...
It actually disgusts me, actually, personally speaking.
When you hear people at that level who seem not to be able to remember that the country is St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, imagine you're sitting down in Nevis, you're listening to this speech from somebody who's your representative, because that person is speaking at the national level. And you hear them continue to talk about the country of St. Kitts and what St. Kitts is doing, and St. Kitts is this and St. Kitts is that. You get that sense that you're being excluded. And that may sound simple, but just in terms of language that we talk about, then you hear other things about, they say, the federal government is helping Nevis because we get a portion of the CBI revenues that are coming in. And you say, why do you use the language of helping Nevis? If I'm helping somebody, I'm giving them something to which they're not entitled.
Exactly.
And that kind of language. Now, if you say you're partnering with Nevis, you're doing the same thing, but the language, it has a different connotation.
Yeah, it implies something different, yeah.
And so this is what I feel that could be an easy start if our leadership starts to say things in the right way and to express themselves in a way that people say, boy, this is really a paradigm shift to where we were. And that, I think, is important. And I think, our structure in our society is such that when the leaders speak, I think that filters down to the populace in a very meaningful way. And so that's the level of language that I would like to see employed as we work out, of course, the framework for a better St. Kitts and Nevis going forward.
Right, and even things as simple as people writing down their address,
right?
Which rubs me the wrong way. Whenever I write an address, I would say, it's number 4 Church Street, Bastia. I always put St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yeah.
But you find the majority of petitions, when they're writing an address on a piece of paper or document or anything, they put 4th Street, Bastia, St. Kitts, and leave off Nevis.
So no. I want to be clear that the same thing happens in Nevis as well.
They just put
I'm
Nevis.
making a statement here, a very broad statement, because most Nevisians, when they're going to write that address, they write Nevis as well.
You see, and that's part of the problem.
Right. So I'm saying that on both sides of the narrows, if that thinking can change. But one of the things that is a pet peeve of mine as foreign minister, they laugh at me now within the CARICOM context, because when I put up that flag and say, I want to speak, I want to make an intervention, and they say, Foreign Minister of St. Kitts, I don't speak. And they look at me, and I say, well, I'm waiting. And they say, well, we called on you. I said, no, you said Foreign Minister of St. Kitts, and I'm the Foreign Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. So, it gets to a point now, however, where they know. So when they address me as the Foreign Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. I said, to some it may sound like a small matter. But it is that language and that effort to be inclusive, which I think is an important start. And our leadership, I believe, needs to take that on board. And our political directorate, both in government and opposition, needs to take that on board and allow that to filter out throughout the country, that we are one country, we are striving to achieve together. You know, I see people from Nevis going to work at the Park Hyatt in St. Kitts. Do you know that from any point in Nevis, you can get to the Park Hyatt more quickly than if you were leaving St. Paul's or Sandy Point to go and work at the Park Hyatt?
Yeah. Our town.
So just to put that in context for you,
Yeah.
I can leave Nevis, Butlers, Cotton Ground, take that water taxi, 5 minutes, I'm at the Park Hyatt. You leave Newton Ground, you leave Keon, headed to Park Hyatt. And Park Hyatt is on St. Kitts, but I get there before you, coming from the other island of Nevis. I use that just as an example to say that there are synergies here, opportunities that we can exploit. If only we were to see this as one country and not see it as these two islands which are constantly battling and butting heads. So when we plan at the national level, we include the entire country. You know, they were doing the Old Road project in St. Kitts. I was so pleased to see that truckers from Nevis took their trucks over to St. Kitts to work on that project. When the Four Seasons opened in Nevis, a lot of young people from St. Kitts, I'd hope he doesn't mind me calling his name, but I could think of somebody like Roger Brisbane, that is starting tourism at the Four Seasons in Nevis. And he was not the only one. Because that is the way the country should run. That is the way it should function. If there are opportunities in Nevis that Kittitians can take advantage of, then they do so, and vice versa. And I believe, however, that we can only get there once we have that change in our thinking. And the young people are already doing it. They're intermarrying, they're liming, they're fetting, they're partying together. I went to a party up here in Nevis the other day, and I saw a bevy of young ladies. I didn't know any of them. I asked who they were, and they were all coming over from St. Kitts to hang out with their friends over here. So there's a level of social intercourse that is already happening. The question is whether or not we at the political level can understand that and can move in that direction as well.
Exactly. And speaking about political maturity, yesterday was National Heroes Day, where we celebrated our heroes, the people who have, well, some of the folks who have helped, build our great nation, from the foundation come right up. And this is something that we speak about often on this show, the fact that all of our national heroes are politicians.
All.
Right? So that leads me into this question.
And all men.
And they're all
Yes.
they're all male politicians.
Yes.
So that leads me into this question. Firstly, how do you feel about folks from other walks of life being given that badge of honor as a national hero? Teachers, doctors, people in law, people in entertainment, people in the arts, people in in medicine. That's the first part of the question. And secondly, not to put you on the spot, but is there anybody you can think of who are past or still with us that you feel are well deserving of that badge of honor,
other than
to be
Kevon?
made national hero?
Yeah, other than me.
Well, I heard somebody call into your show to indicate that some of you will be national heroes one day. I want to second that. What I'll say to you is this, that remember under our law, as you've pointed out in your show, we have 3 categories of national awards. We have the Medal of Honor, I think the Star of Merit, and then we have the National Hero. The National Hero is really reserved for those who have impacted the country in an above normal way.
Okay.
And certainly the country functions because all of us contribute. I commented publicly the other day that I got up at about 5 a.m. to take a morning walk, and I heard the garbage truck outside my house because the sanitation workers are out at that hour keeping Nevis clean. And most times people are still asleep. They don't even see them. You come and your garbage is no longer there and it vanishes. And sometimes we don't even stop to remember that these people have to get out of their beds at 1 and 2 in the morning to go and do that job. So we have heroes. Many of them are unsung. We have fathers who are playing the role of mother and father. We have mothers who are playing the role of mother and father, raising children, ensuring that those children are taken care of. And those two are unsung heroes. But we can't award everybody. And the thing about the national hero, it is really for those people who have been so exceptional that we think that they're deserving of that honor. And so whilst, yes, all are politicians, and whilst, yes, all are men, I think that they stand, all of them, on their own merit, head and shoulders above the others that we would have seen since then. And I think that, when you look at a Sir Kennedy Simmons, who was our first prime minister, took us into independence, you look at the dignity with which he has lived his life and the decorum that he has always had about him, the quiet strength that he has brought. And you can, I think, whether you supported him or didn't support him, appreciate why he has been named a national hero. As Sir Simeon Daniel, who brought the Four Seasons Resort, brought the Bank of Nevis, brought Sixth Farm to Nevis for the first time, embarked on the most ambitious land reform that Nevis has ever seen, where now almost everybody in Nevis owns a piece of land. I think you have to acknowledge that these people occupy a sort of rarefied air. They are at a space where many of us will never achieve. And so I think that that has to be preserved. The danger, of course, in talking about more national heroes is that you run the risk of diminishing the status of the national hero. And so, yes, I think it's unfortunate that there's no woman. Yes, I think it's perhaps unfortunate that all that are there thus far are politicians. But we also have to be realistic that the politicians, certainly of that era, more than any other, shaped St. Kitts and Nevis in terms of what we are now. And it was their decisions and their policies that propelled us to where we are today. So would I like to see others? I think in the fullness of time. I'm not in any rush to name any new national heroes. I think that we have the Medal of Honor and we have the Star of Merit. We have some awards that come from the Queen, such as MBE and OBE and knighthoods and those. There are different ways I think that we can recognize good performance from our people and committed service without necessarily populating our national hero list with dozens and dozens of people. I would point out as well that for the size of our population, St. Kitts and Nevis actually per capita has quite a high number of national heroes. If you compare, say, to Jamaica or Barbados and those with much larger populations, I think that we have done quite well in the circumstances. Am I seeing anybody today? My short answer is no. Okay. I think that there is a lot of work to be done. And as I said, somebody to ascend as national hero has to be someone who really has performed at an exceptional level. There are lots of people who have performed well, who have contributed significantly, but to me it has to be somebody who has that certain added something about them that we can all with one accord say, yes, this is an individual. So Robert Bradshaw wasn't loved in Nevis at all, but even Nevisians must admit that he laid the foundation for modern St. Kitts and Nevis. Paul Southwell, Nathaniel France, who was Nevisian, Sir Simeon Daniel, Kennedy Simmons. I think we look at these individuals and we could, whether we supported them or not, at least admit
and appreciate their contribution, yes.
Exactly, and a contribution at a level, I think, that went beyond the ordinary contribution. For example, you look at lawyers, and lawyers would serve 20, 30, 40 years. They make a lot of money. They perhaps in their lifetime do a few big cases that might impact us in terms of constitutional matters and the nature. But when you look at them and you say, well, okay, well, what have you done that takes you to the pantheon of a national hero? And I think that is the debate. And I don't mean to bash lawyers. I'm a lawyer myself, but doctors similarly. What would you have done to take you to that extra level?
The extra mile.
So for me, it's not just about service, because everybody serves in some way or the other. It is also that word exceptional, which I think is important, that we can all look to these individuals and be inspired by them. And that to me is what a national hero ought to be. So I think that there's work to be done. I think that I share the view of the callers, that if you young people continue in the vein that you're going, I think in time your names will be written large. And I believe that you are the ones who now will occupy that space. But for most of us who are more pedestrian, it is just a question of making a contribution and moving on so that others can come after to make their contribution as well.
Great. We have a question on the live posted by one of the viewers, and I think since you mentioned the Honorable Dr. Simeon Daniel, his legacy is known as the father of modern Nevis, and the person is asking, what do you hope your legacy will be as Premier?
It's difficult when one is in the middle of a journey to talk about legacy. I've often said questions of legacy are for historians. Those are for people who come after. It's always difficult, as I said, to mark your own paper. You leave that to the teacher. And the people in a democracy are the ones who ultimately will determine. What I would like to see, I would like it said of me that I came, that I was honest, that I made a contribution, that I took the country or the island of Nevis or the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, since I serve at that level as well, farther than I met it, in a positive direction. And that I knew when it was time for me to clear the stage and allow younger people, more nimble, more physically able, more intellectually capable, to come forward and continue that. Politics for me and leadership is like a relay. You pass the baton to the next person that's coming. And I've seen where people have been resistant to pass that baton, and the result has been difficulty. I feel that I would like it said of me that when it was time to go, that I went, but that I had prepared the way so that the next person that comes has a platform on which they can build. And so I see myself not as revolutionary by any measure, but as somebody who's trying in a quiet way to transform our thinking and transform our way of life. And I hope that people will say of me that I instilled in our people, particularly the Nevisian people, a sense of pride, that I instilled in us a sense of nationhood, a sense of nationality, that we recognize that there is value in this country called St. Kitts and Nevis. And that sense of patriotism, I feel, is critical if we are to move forward as one, and if we are to achieve our fullest potential as a nation.
I mean, I see myself as a youth, and to hear you speak of succession and stuff like that. This is something that we've discussed on the show at length, and it's really refreshing to hear you speak about that. And I'm sure that when it's all said and done, your legacy would be one that you, your family, your supporters would be more than proud of. But we're quickly running out of time.
Sure.
But I'm going to ask the question that I'm sure everyone listening, and I'm sure all of us here in the studio wants to know, just before we wrap up. When the bridge coming?
That's a good question. I don't think there's a secret that I support the notion of a bridge, because I think that it will unleash the full economic potential of the country. If you want to come over tomorrow to enjoy a restaurant in Nevis, you have to take a boat. Nothing is wrong with that. But the ability to hop in your car and drive, it is a more leisurely approach. It brings us closer together.
For sure.
And if we are committed to this nation and this idea, this project of nationhood on which we embarked on the 19th of September 1983, I think that a bridge is the last aspect of it, to bring our islands together and to remove that sense of islandism and instead replace it with a sense of nationalism that I think we need if St. Kitts and Nevis is going to survive. So when it will come, I don't know. It is a matter that unity, the government has spoken about for some time. It found its way again into our manifesto, I believe, and this election cycle. And I know we have some proposals about it, but it will be a matter, I think, which will benefit from widespread consultation. We'll have to have a conversation with our people to determine that this is the way that they wish to go. But I can tell you that my vote is that I think it's an important project and one that will do a lot to bring us closer together. And I believe only in unity, only together, only in partnership can we achieve the fullest potential of St. Kitts and Nevis. I end by saying that I have every confidence in our country. We are a young country, we are a small country, but we have demonstrated that we have the level of intellectual capacity. We have a deep, deep reservoir of intellectual talent in this country. We have demonstrated, whether it's culture, the economy, medicine, academia, that we can compete with the region and the world and do so successfully. And so my heart is full as we celebrate 37 years of independence. I feel that St. Kitts and Nevis is in a good place despite the challenges of COVID-19. And I would like to encourage you youngsters to continue as you are going. I think this program, I will become a fan from now, because I really wasn't aware. I'm not a big radio listener, but I really enjoy the program. Just the vibe and the talking to each other. I think that that's important, that we do that more in St. Kitts, we do that more in Nevis, and we do that more together. And so my sense is that we are proud, we ought to be proud of what we've achieved thus far, but there's work to be done. And we must put our shoulders collectively to the wheel to ensure that that work is done. Thank you for having me.
All right, well said. Well, Sheriff, thank you very much for joining us this morning. It was truly a very informative and enlightening conversation, I must say. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And thanks for taking time. You know, I'm sure you're extremely busy. You know, it's our week of independence. You know,
yeah,
the whole government is on their face, doing things. So we want to express, you know, sincere gratitude for giving us some time this morning.
Absolutely, and please, if you need me in the future, just let me know. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, no problem. Have a good day, sir.
Okay, God bless.
All right, bye. All right, and that brings us to the end of this episode of Island Tea.
The extended end.
The extended end. We got to beg for more time.
But you're going Nevis tonight, and I just want to let the young men and old men of Nevis know that you can rest easy. I'm coming to work.
But yeah, actually, do you think we should announce what we're having tomorrow?
Yes.
I think we should.
While we have the eyes and ears.
But while the viewers are up. Thank you, A Premier. So tomorrow morning on Island Tea, we're going to be graced by the presence of the Right Honourable Dr. Denzel Douglas, who is going to be sitting with us to discuss similar things.
Sharp boss.
Similar things as it relates to independence and, you know, where the country was to where it is now. And of course, his contribution to the growth and development of St. Kitts and Nevis. So tune in tomorrow at 8 a.m. Yes, I realize. So tune in tomorrow morning for Island Tea, for our special episode, our second special episode of the week. This is the first one. Where we'll be talking.
All the episodes are special, Amali.
They all are special.
These are extra special. We'll be talking to Dr. Douglas, and he's going to be in studio. Is that correct, Jade? Oh, wow.
He's in studio.
He's in studio tomorrow morning. So tune in tomorrow morning on WinFM 98.9. Have a great day. Is it still showering outside?
I hope so.
Wow.
Seems like it is.
It's a lovely day in St. Kitts.
Oh, I love it.
And the Kevon folks are very happy.
The farmers are.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, have a good day, folks. We're leaving.
And remember,
you can't be everybody's cup of tea because you're not a mug.
I forgot, I'm sorry.
I know you did. It's okay.